Right, joining us for all the chat today, I'd like to say, is Philip Ingram, MBE, former senior military intelligence officer. Morning.
Morning.
Question, can I say...
yeah, go on.
No, what?
Well, I was going to say, it's lovely being at the home of common sense, because there's very little of it around in the government or anywhere else at the moment.
We point this out on an hourly basis.
We need a home for it to focus on.
It would be really nice if the home was at number 10, wouldn't it? But we haven't had that for...
Oh.
I mean, frankly, as long as I can remember. Look, Keir Starmer has defended cozying up to China, meeting with Xi Jinping amid these spying claims, amid giving in to the Chinese embassy, the brutal crackdown in Hong Kong, slave labour camps. Yeah, I mean, you name it. China utterly taking advantage of us on the world markets. What is your reaction to that? I'd love to hear your thoughts. 0344 499 1000. Text the word talk in your message to 87222. Get in touch with us on X at talkTV. Calls are charged at the national rate, and text cost £1, standard network rate message. Philip, we've been talking about this in the last hour as well. Kowtow Keir, never hear Keir, 80-minute Keir. They were supposed to have a 40-minute meeting with Xi Jinping, but it lasted for 20 minutes. I mean, it's very, very, very exciting. I mean, we're so proud. I mean, genuinely, this is embarrassing.
Mind you, I have taken a 6-hour flight to go for a meeting that actually didn't happen.
So that's worse.
To come back again.
Were you the Prime Minister of a major global nation?
No, they hadn't asked me to. So, but you know, it's ridiculous, everything that he's doing, and it's quite clear. Don't care. Because
I love that he's so forgettable. You forgot his name.
Exactly. He hasn't brought up any of the important issues, like Jimmy Lai and human rights.
No, he says he did. No, they say they raise these issues, and if they do, they go, by the way, I need to mention this, this, and this, and then they can say they've mentioned it, but that's it. Yeah,
exactly. There's no substance coming out of it,
no.
And so no decisions on business, no decisions on any of the major issues that are in there. And he had 80 minutes after a big flight and all the rest of it. He was clearly nervous about it. He knew that this is what was going to happen, because you saw him getting off the aircraft and the way he walked down and all the rest. From a body language perspective, he was scared to pieces. He didn't know what to do.
You told me something before we came on air, which I hadn't clocked until you'd put it. And if you've been seeing some of the footage of Keir Starmer walking down those stairs, and he arrived yesterday, obviously, and then they had the meeting overnight. They're 10 hours ahead in Beijing. They had the meeting overnight. Historic meeting, as all these political journalists keep saying. It's first time in 8 years. That's not historic, loves. Seriously, get a dictionary. Please get a dictionary. But you told me something about how the Chinese do this stuff.
The honour guard and the individual greeting him.
On the red carpet.
If you look at all of them, the Chinese are known for not being the tallest people in the world. That's the Dutch. When you're doing, but if you look at all of those that were in the front row of the honour guard that's there, they're all taller than Keir Starmer, and the individual that met him is taller, and that's so that the Chinese are looking down on the other world leader that's coming in to make them feel.
I love that they care about these things.
But it shows the level of detail that the Chinese put into planning everything, and it's all about manipulation,
including hacking into our Prime Minister's phone.
It's all about manipulating the environment and making someone feel uncomfortable. And boy, just look at Keir Starmer's body language. Did he feel uncomfortable? Oh yes.
It also looked really cold. Everyone else was like, they obviously, wrapped up in their scarves and their gloves and their coats. And here he is with his shirt. You can see his shirt. Yeah, he and
always, a black shirt with a dark suit.
That was later. Yeah, he just. You're a man of great sartorial elegance.
He probably had white socks on as well. Yes.
You're not happy. The other thing has been revealed that not only do they take burner phones, and they're worried about, you said even they take a BA flight because they can't trust when it comes back that it's not been fiddled with, because again we can't secure our own Prime Minister's plane, for the love of God. They also apparently take these little mini pop-up tents for the Prime Minister and his aides to get changed in, so no one, for the love of God, has to see them naked.
Yes, the cameras in the rooms and all the rest of it, which will be bugged to pieces. But again, it shows that there's no control over where they stay. Why isn't staying with
the embassy? Have they got running water yet? Because the Chinese switched onto running water when they weren't going to get that embassy
residence
here.
And all the rest of it. And why there aren't secure rooms for the Prime Minister to be in. And
but this is the thing. You're going to a country that is run by a murderous authoritarian dictator who has 1 million Uyghurs in slave labour camps, who is busy basically trying to sell us as much tat and eco stuff made in coal-fired factories to ruin our economies. They are having an absolute laugh, where they crack down on pro-democracy activists in Hong Kong. They've threatening to imprison for life Jimmy Lai, a 78-year-old pro-democracy activist and businessman who is a British citizen and has been for about 30 years, and he is in prison right now on spurious charges, no real judicial process. process going on. We're going to be talking to his son in less than an hour's time. And they go along, they kowtowed over the embassy, because basically it's quite clear the go-ahead for this visit was only, you need to prove the embassy, or you ain't getting the visit, mate, because you're a nobody and we don't care about you. Xi Jinping didn't meet him off the plane, did he?
Nope.
There's no, I'm sorry, it was probably a second-hand red carpet. They don't care. He got 40 minutes with Xi Jinping, who's just busy purging his generals. It went on longer, but you're saying earlier, that's probably just the time it took to translate the burbling nonsense. They're running rings around us. This is not us being a global player. This is us looking like, frankly, an embarrassment on the world stage. And we've got nothing for it other than, we can get 30-day visa-free travel to China. Who's going to China?
It's also proving to Xi Jinping that the UK, the UK's leader is a non-entity, and therefore is no threat whatsoever. So Xi Jinping will continue to trample all over us. He'll continue to suck down every bit of data that people have got on their phones. If you've got Chinese apps and other bits.
Well,
and
we're
pieces
bound again. I don't have TikTok on, but our mobile phones are made in China mostly, aren't they? Those are the bits.
They are. The manufacturers that do there are very good at making sure that the Chinese aren't doing anything. The big threat are the apps that are coming in, because they're completely unregulated. And why does China want access to all the data? Because they can then build a profile up on every individual in every country over a long period of time. Whenever they get AI on top of quantum computing and analyse it, they will know what makes you tick, what makes your relationship with everyone that's in your circle tick, and they'll be able to influence that very subtly over a period of time in the future.
And they do that on social media. They do that with stuff that we see. With the adverts we see.
How many times you get adverts? You seem to think of something, and all of a sudden the adverts start popping up. Well,
I have a conversation with my husband. We're out on a walk. And because he's got an Apple Watch, there's three of us in this marriage, I've said.
Yeah, exactly.
I go home and something I've never Googled anything will come up as an advert.
I've stopped wearing an Apple Watch for that very reason, because it's listening in all of the time. And China, that's stuff that they can do legally. Think of them getting all the stuff that you don't want them to get.
Got the industrial espionage, but also we know, like the bots. I mean, the bot farms. This is on an industrial scale.
More than an industrial scale.
And they're doing it. And is that so they can target people for spying? And we've seen these spy charges that have been dropped in the last year.
It's so they can target people for spying, but it's also so they can influence people. So that if you're coming up to a different business deal where you're trying to bid in whether your manufacturing is going to be in Europe or in China. The CEO can be targeted, and the different companies can be targeted over a 6-12 month period.
It's really subtle stuff.
With very subtle stuff that comes in. And not just the CEO, but those that are advising them and briefing them, because you know what their baselines are, you know what they support,
they're interfering undoubtedly with our elections and Russia 100%. As well. And they're interfering in a way, to undermine sort of social cohesion. They're pushing a lot of this, the trans madness, the eco madness. They fund a lot of this stuff. They're pushing the stuff that divides us and basically undermines the sort of the concrete base of our civilization.
And so many people say, I can never be influenced like that. And I call it hacking your serotonin. And if you think, and this will appeal to people.
These are the people who say, I'm never influenced by adverts on the television.
Well, exactly. But this is the sort of thing where if people of a certain age, if I say hands that do dishes, you've just put a smile on your face. You know exactly the brand that I'm talking about. You can probably hear the music and everything else. But that smile comes because the chemical balance in your brain has changed. And therefore, if that's very overt, done through an advert, if you can do that covertly without people realising it by manipulating other bits and pieces, you can change the way people think. You can change the way people vote, and you can undermine democracy. Does China want to do that?
Yes. Whew. Again, it's another one of those happy Thursdays, folks. I mean, genuinely, this is what we're up against. This isn't conspiracy theory stuff. This isn't like...
it's reality.
It's reality. It's what they do. I just hope we're spying on them as well, but I doubt we're doing it very well.
We are doing it quite well, but not to the same degree, because culturally it's very difficult for us to break in there, because they're not as open to other cultures coming in as we are to their culture.
I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, folks. 0344 499 1000. Do give us a call to have your say on that. I mean, look, we've not got anything out of it. We've got, they're trying to talk about tariffs, visa-free travel for 30 days. I mean, that's what we have that with most countries. I'm not sure it's that much bother. I go to various countries where I have to get a visa. You literally buy it for $25 in the airport. I mean, get over yourselves, people. But there's nothing about, you know, the spying in the UK, or the hacking of the number 10 phones. Nothing that's going to solve, you know, Jimmy Lai being held captive in Hong Kong.
Stealing all the research out of a university.
Yeah, I mean, well, they bought up our universities, haven't they? I mean, you know, slave labour camps, all this stuff. None of that is being dealt with. We know that. Kemi Badenoch said the Prime Minister shouldn't have gone, and she wouldn't go. Was she right?
Yes and no. Timing-wise, yes, but the Prime Minister needs to go. China's the second largest economy in the world. We're the sixth largest economy. You have to deal with it.
But he only got the visit because he agreed to the Chinese embassy.
Exactly.
Which he shouldn't have.
He shouldn't have done that. He should have said, no, you can stick your embassy where your embassy doesn't shine. And then we're not going to have you here on a royal visit. So go away, mate.
Yeah, okay, and you're not going to give you a second-hand football either as your gift. Oh, he must be so happy with that. What do you make of, sticking with world affairs, Donald Trump's threat to Iran about his beautiful armada of warships ready to attack? This isn't about helping the people, the pro-democracy activists in Iran. We've seen tens of thousands. You know, I mean, 30,000 seems to be the bare minimum of the number who've been killed. That may have been just, frankly, over a couple of days. We are looking at horrific numbers, people slain on the streets just for asking for the most basic rights we used to take for granted. We perhaps don't take them for granted here anymore. But this is about the nuclear threat. Is this saber rattling? Is this going to lead to attacks on Tehran? Is it going to lead to them giving up their attempts to make nuclear weapons? Is this going to lead to the fall of the mullahs?
No, but it is influence. It's influencing the regime, and they will know perfectly well through backdoor messaging that's going in that this is all about the way that they've cracked down on the demonstrators in Iran.
Yeah.
You know, Donald Trump's got 4 things that he can do. Do nothing. That's the easy one, but he promised to do something, so he has to do something. And
he said he'd do something before now.
And to do something, you want to be able to escalate or de-escalate, and this is the lowest level. Go against nuclear targets if he decides to do that. He can go against the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guards Corps, who are the ones that have carried out most of the atrocities. That's the next level. Or he can go for a complete regime change. But we don't have a good history of regime change in the Middle East, especially. You look at Iraq, look at Libya. Look at Iran. Iran's coming next.
Yeah.
Look at Syria. Look at Afghanistan. We haven't got. You need a follow-up, and the follow-up could be almost as bad. Yeah. Or worse than
often ends up being that way, doesn't it? Yeah, I mean, again, there's, you know, the authoritarian leaders are keeping out a lot of the mad people. Where are you? I know where you are. We already spoke about it, and I knew where you were beforehand. On Keir Starmer, basically, now, I mean, we've all these stories about the troubles and basically opening up and again, it's always with Lord Herman. His name just keeps on coming up. Yeah. He's the also human rights barrister, big mate of Keir Starmer, now the Attorney General, who's basically put international law, European Convention on Human Rights, just embedded it in every single thing that the government does, and basically allowing veterans to basically face from the troubles in Northern Ireland. Just, you know, prosecution after prosecution after prosecution. You know, some people in their 3rd or 4th prosecution despite keep being found innocent in all the investigations. But now it's emerged that Keir Starmer, we knew that he'd been involved in a court case before alongside Lord Herman and alongside a guy called Phil Shiner. He's a disgraced lawyer who basically was the biggest ambulance chasing lawyer. The solicitor was basically trying to get all the he was basically paying for fake evidence from Iraq against British soldiers serving there, trying to bring cases. He's making money no matter what, but getting payoffs, basically bringing cases and making money that way. He basically has got struck off as a solicitor and as a fraud conviction. That's how bad he is. Well, he basically edited a book, this guy Phil Shiner. Keir Starmer contributed to it when he was a barrister, calling for European human rights laws to be used to investigate British troops in Iraq. He accused the government of a deliberate effort to alter international law, claimed it had given British troops an effective immunity when operating in Iraq. This is a book. It's not the long distance past. It's 2008. That is not long. You know, he's an adult. You know, he's fully in his prime as a human rights barrister. Does he just really, really not like British troops, or does his love of international human rights law just top everything else? In which case, Mrs. Starmer, you probably want to have a word with him.
It's the old saying, a leopard never changes his spots. You know, it's quite clear that his fundamental underlying principles are European human rights law first, attack those that are representatives of an institution because you can attack it procedurally, i.e. Troops. Don't care about the individual, because people go, oh well, they've been through a legal process and they've been found innocent even after all of that, so they're fine. No, they've had 13 years or 15 years of hell, of not being able to live their lives. You can't get that time back again, where they've been pushed to the edge of suicide and some pushed beyond the edge of suicide. This is unforgivable, and Keir Starmer needs to get rid of
these aren't people who have been found again, or big question marks about horrific crimes where they've raped or murdered people and got blood. We talk about being investigated again and again and found to have done nothing wrong.
And they've made split-second decisions, which those decisions will have killed someone, but they have actually saved even more lives in doing that. And to attack them is just unforgivable in any way, shape or form. Starmer needs to get rid of Lord Hermer as quickly as possible, because the two of them together are toxic, and then Starmer needs to go. I don't understand how any veteran can be in Starmer's cabinet after these revelations have come out and still hold their head high. I
couldn't agree with you more. It's just extraordinary, isn't it? And again, we are not talking about people, who've never faced any sort of prosecution for absolute wrongdoing, because we talked about this on the show yesterday. The British military have a very, very good reputation of being within the letter of the law. Things go wrong in war. It's a war zone. We need to be very wary. Same with the police. Very wary of making judgments about, again, split-second decisions where people lose lives. It's a war zone.
I think we should take Lord Hermer and put him in what's called the killing room in Hereford, and have him, an SAS team come in.
Is this where you're trained?
Yeah, an SAS team comes in and shows what it's like, and then give him a weapon with blank rounds in it, and put him in with the SAS team to come in to make a decision, and put him in a position where he's in a dilemma as to whether to shoot or not to shoot, because he will then suddenly realise just how difficult.
And we all need to recognise that. And exactly. I think that when you have a time when a lot of our politicians had actually served, they've been conscripted, they served in war. They understood it a bit better. Just finally, before we go to break, I do want to talk about pupils who get suspended from schools. Schools are going to be told to stop sending suspended pupils home. I don't even understand that sentence. This is under new government plans. Children in English schools, in schools in England, will no longer be sent home by default when they get into trouble from next year. And basically, I mean, look, we all remember, don't we? Well, remember a certain age when Tony Blair brought in this whole no expulsions from school rule. Basically, a load of people who've gone to grammar schools and private schools where they didn't have kids who were in class throwing chairs, disrupting every single lesson and stopping the other 29 kids getting an education, all went, oh, this is terrible, oh, these poor children. A lot of those children who cause disruption, particularly, and we're talking about kids in primary school now getting suspended, they come from troubled homes. Things are going horribly, horribly wrong, and perhaps sending them home ain't the solution. But here's the thing. You can't keep them in the classroom, and most schools don't have a spare room and a spare couple of teachers to look after those kids. That's the whole issue, is that they're stopping them getting taught. But there's all these people who had a very privileged education who have no idea what a bog standard comp is like, or just any ordinary state school where you've got those kids. And you need to look after the needs of the majority over the needs of the minority at that point. And those kids, I think they absolutely do need help. But basically taking away the power from these teachers, whether it's expulsions, suspensions, is unless they are actually violent, and a lot of these kids now are. This is again madness, this whole sort of hand-wringing as opposed to really clear signals. And also, by the way, part of the issue with the parents, like, we're sending your kid home, they're your problem now. Well, it's partly punishing the parents, and deliberately, because the parents are usually the problem.
That's the important thing, is making the parents sit up and go, you have to take responsibility for them, and when their behaviour gets right, they can come back into school. But not someone who's suspended being kept in school, that's not being suspended, that's going into detention. Quite simple.
But someone actually has to sit over these kids.
Exactly. And then if you're saying not suspended but they're being kept in school, well, if they've been kept in school against their will, surely that's kidnapping, and surely European
all kids are legally kept in school against their will.
But if they're not in class, they're not getting educated and everything else, they've been kept in school as a punishment without actually going through a due process. I'm sure the European Court, Keir Starmer, will do that.
Don't give them ideas. Please don't give them ideas. But I mean, I get it. We know that a lot of these kids need a lot of help. They're being these kids are often, they're being abused, they're being neglected, they're not being parented properly. There's talk about, oh well, they'll just be out, they'll they'll get groomed, or they'll be doing county lines, drug muling. Yeah, I completely understand that.
If they're over 16, send them in the military.
Yeah, well, there you are.
Compulsory service.
Military don't want them, though, do they?
Well, if they join the military as a full-time recruit, yes, the military will take them and sort them out.
Yeah, and they would sort them out.
Oh yeah.
Again, this is what's so tragic. Again, this is total lack of understanding. I once talked to a tutor at Oxford College about what would you do, like, to get more kids into top universities, or to get them to get better grades. And he said, I'd have an ex-soldier in every classroom. Because every time, especially teachers, it's been so feminised in terms of, it's women. Frankly, a lot of these young lads don't take women seriously. But basically, you've got a big bloke there who goes, sit down, shut up. They will, but they need to be able to use force. I'm afraid they do need to be able to use force.
When I went through school, your discipline was at the core of everything, and
you got a clip round the ear in my day.
You knew the teachers that you could get away with things. You knew the teachers that you couldn't, and there was respect. There was respect across the board for teachers, for your elders, whether they were elder pupils and all the rest of it.
And here's the thing: if you got told off at school, your biggest fear was your parents
going home, and my mum. Oh my goodness! I remember.
Everyone, am I right? Am I right? There was a point when you got to the world. When Britain started going wrong was when you suddenly went from, oh my God, I hope my parents don't find out about this, to whoosh, oh, I'm going to get my mum in, and my mum and my dad are going to have a go at you, Mr. Teacher. And the parents would do that.
Yeah, I got a tap in the hand on the back of my hand from the headmaster for slamming the doors in the toilet when I was 5 years old. Wow. I remember going home and telling my mum, and I got more than a slap in the hand after that.
Times was different. I'm just saying. Anyway, love to hear your thoughts on all that. Love to